Hi everybody and welcome back to my fortnightly vlog. So some of you might feel like I've left you hanging. At the beginning of June I shared a vlog about how I learned to deal with uncertainty with ease, and I'm just looking at the title here, and it talked about I talked about myself as a former control freak. Now what I shared in that vlog was I have got some things going on in my own life that are uncertain, and I was kind of using that vlog as a bit of like a video diary as to what had been happening and how I was dealing with it, but I hadn't shared the specifics because I wanted to allow the universe to do its thing and share what's happened. And the good news is I am now in a position to do that. So what I want to share with you today is a decision that I made a while ago, why there was uncertainty, how I allowed that to be, which is very different if you've watched the other vlog as to how I would have been previously, what that's meant and what happens now. So it is literally like a live case study. So first of all, before I kind of do the big reveal of what it is that's happening, is I want to kind of take you back to almost 4 years ago when I bought my wonderful sports horse Kiki. Now, for those of you that followed me for a while, you might well know she is somewhat of a wonder horse. I've had horses before her that I still have, and she is somewhat of a dream come true. I worked really hard on my riding and on my mindset to be able to have a horse like Kiki. She's very talented. I'm also pleased to say she's very laid back as well. And when I got Kiki back in, I think it was September 2017, I've been doing a little bit of show jumping and really enjoying it and really coming on. And I've been doing the occasional cross-country clinic and that kind of thing. And when I got Kiki, we gelled really quickly and I just became braver just to try new things. And I've been enjoying my horsey life, or loving my horsey life, honestly, ever since. Now, some of you may know I live in France and we've been here for just over 9 years. I'm British, as you can probably hear. And in early 2012, myself and my husband moved over here with 2 horses and a pony. And we brought our 4 cats over as well, and we were looking for a real lifestyle change. I was not enjoying my senior HR position and was really in the rat race, and we basically decided we wanted a complete change of life. And having my horses at home was a dream of mine for as long as I could remember, and I've absolutely loved it and continue to love it. After getting Kiki and after a couple of years, we got really into eventing and other things. And it became really apparent there's other things that I want to do with Kiki. And I also, in 2019, set up my mindset transformation coaching business, Be Your Best Yet. And as ever, things have moved on. The things that myself and my husband wanted 10 years ago when we were planning our move here are very different to what we want for the next 10 years. So we have decided that we are moving to the UK. Now, we actually made that decision in late 2019, and the plan had been to move in spring of this year. COVID had other ideas, and because our house, we obviously couldn't get anyone to view our house last year because of COVID, and we then kind of put our plans back to spring next year. However, myself and my husband like a plan, and we also like to be flexible. Things have changed. So what we decided was, once we sold our house here, we would go to the UK and we would rent. Now, this is where the uncertainty comes in, because I was absolutely not available for having the horses in a separate location to us. Having had the horses at home for over 9 years, I wasn't prepared to go back to livery, which I didn't enjoy. And therefore, buying an equestrian property, particularly at the moment because the housing market's gone a bit mad, is quite challenging. Renting an equestrian property is even more challenging because there are really not many of them around, and we have 3 horses and a pony, so it's not as if we could rent somewhere with 1 acre and a little barn. You know, we need like a decent amount of land, and you know, facilities would be a bonus. However, being up for a bit of a challenge and being prepared to put the work in to make things happen, that's how we made our life in France. We barely spoke French when we moved. We were just like, okay, well, let's just go for it, see what happens. At the end of May, or the 3rd week of May, I think it was, we saw a property online that ticked all of our boxes. It was a property for rent, and there aren't many of them around. And we hadn't actually accepted an offer on our house at the point that we saw that property. We made a decision that we were going to apply to rent that property because it ticked everything we wanted. In terms of all of the facilities, it was within the budget that we put together, and we were in the mindset of that's the house that we want. Now, of course, there are a lot of other people looking for rental properties for equestrian, particularly while the housing market for buying is fairly buoyant, to say the least. Now, we had originally wanted to be down in the southwest of the UK, Devon and Cornwall, maybe Somerset area, and we do still ultimately want to be in that area long term, I think. This property is actually in the Midlands, but it's not too far from friends and family and where I grew up. So that was another reason why we were kind of drawn to it as well. So we applied to rent the property. I think it was the 21st or 22nd of May. And we'd had quite a lot of interest in our house, and I felt, particularly, I'm somebody that listens to my body, listens to my intuition, I really felt like an offer was coming. The truth of the matter was we knew that we didn't have to sell the house to rent somewhere. It just would have been tidier that we wouldn't have had the house sat empty here. So we put our application in to rent the property, and we just went about our business. Now, there was obviously a lot of thoughts around, and this was a big worry for me, what if when we've sold, there is not a property available that suits our needs? That was a very real concern. And what I know through all the mindset work that I do is that when you lean into trust and you're really clear on what it is that you're looking for, the universe has a way of supplying what you need. Now, I want to be really clear here and say a few years ago, I wouldn't have been able to be in that space. I'd have just been like going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I would have had to have found the property first. So we allowed the time to roll. The time rolled on. I didn't allow it. I don't control time. The time rolled on, and we'd applied to rent the property, and there wasn't lots of information coming back. And we just kind of had to sit tight, really, and kind of get on with everything else, which we did. I'd tried to contact the agent a couple of times to see if there was any updates or any information, because one of the things I was particularly mindful of was we were in France. Obviously, for those of you that are in the UK or in France watching this, you'll know that France has been on the UK amber list, which has meant that you'd have to quarantine if you were going to go to the UK, and it wasn't possible for us to do that with all of our commitments here with the animals and everything else. So I wanted to kind of flag to the agent that we wouldn't be able to view in person, and could we do a video tour? And there was a little voice in my mind kind of saying, oh, that puts you at the bottom of the list, potentially, you know, something slightly different to those people that could just turn up and view in person. And I could really see myself living in that property. My husband was as keen as I was. I think he was a little bit more skeptical about whether we could trust the universe to deliver. When I say trust the universe to deliver, how I actually felt was, if this is to be the property for us, then it will be. And if it's not this one, it's because there will be another one that is more suitable for reasons that may not be clear to us. So rather than allowing myself to get all like, oh my God, it needs to be ours, what if, I just allowed myself to say this or something better. And that was a really calming experience. And actually, I think the first time I've really been able to lean into that, which, given how big and important this move is to us, it's quite surprising. So I've been busy doing a further qualification. I've been busy in my business. We have a lot going on in general. We manage a small holding. We're in a busy time of year for all the grass growing and everything else. So it wasn't like we were sitting around twiddling our thumbs, and we were obviously really keen to get information. Now, I think it was about a week, just over a week after I'd put in the application for the property, I tried to get hold of the agent a couple of times, and his phone had gone straight to voicemail. I'd left a couple of messages and hadn't heard anything back from him. We'd conversed a little bit on email, but that was it. I was sat here about to go, I think I was about half an hour away from going on to a call for something, and something said inside me, ring the agent. Don't know what it was, but I just felt moved to ring the agent. So I did. He answered his phone. First time, I must have tried to ring him 4 or 5 times before that in the previous week. He said, oh, I'm glad you've rung. Yeah, I've got the applications in front of me. Unfortunately, you're not being offered to come forward for a viewing. At which point I was like, really? How come? Anyway, I won't bore you with all of the details, but it turns out there'd been a misunderstanding with how we'd completed our application, and they didn't recognise from what we put on there that we were wanting the horse facilities as well as the property too. So I quickly went into, oh my goodness, that's completely my fault. I didn't understand, and we really do want the horse facilities. I've got 3 horses and a pony, and I really want to compete, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, is there any possible way that I can resubmit my application, because we really feel like this is the property for us? And he said, if you can get it back to me in an hour, then I can get it in front of the landlady. Okay, great. At which point I completed my bit. My husband was on a phone call to a client when he couldn't be interrupted, and I needed some information from him about his job. So I'm kind of dancing around outside his office thinking, please hurry up, please hurry up. Anyway, he came off the call, he completed his information. We sent it off to the agent, and we basically crossed our fingers. At this point, we also hadn't had still an offer on our house. I think it was 5 days after that, 6 days maybe, we had some people who we knew were keen on our house come and view it, and a day after they made an offer, which we accepted. So we now kind of had that bit sewn up, at least in theory, and it was just a case of, right, let's wait and see what happens in relation to this property here. Now, when I spoke to the agent to find out that we'd originally been kind of selected out and I'd kind of prized my way back in, he did say to me there has been an awful lot of interest in this property. And an old version of me would have been like, oh, well then we're not going to get it. Yet I wasn't, because I really felt in my bones that this property was for us. I knew that it might be a long shot because we couldn't go and view it in person, but I had a plan. And again, I was telling myself, and believing, more importantly than telling myself, if this wasn't the property for us, then there was a reason why, and we would find a different property. I also need to be really honest, there were other properties that I was looking at around in the background as well, that we were interested in, but this was the main one. So I wasn't putting all of my eggs in this house's basket, if you like. I was of course keeping my eye on other things, but this was the one that we really wanted. Time rolled on, and there was no urgency, which is fair enough, from the agent. The landlady wasn't in a hurry. And I got a call when I was actually away to say we're arranging viewings and would you be able to come? And I obviously had already explained that we were in France and wouldn't be able to, but I had a friend that could come on my behalf and do a video tour, and would that be acceptable? And thankfully the answer came back that yes, it would. And that happened, I think, about 2 weeks later. So that is probably going up to 3rd week of June, maybe middle of June, something like that. And my friend that was going is a horsey person, which is good, and I totally trust her judgment. And of course, being able to see it on video is kind of the next best thing, given that we weren't able to travel to the UK at that time. What we found out, there was a couple of things that happened. My friend, I had an option of 3 different friends that may be able to go, and I got my first choice friend, which was amazing. And what it turned out, interestingly, when I sent her the details over for the actual property and also the directions, she recognised the agent's name, and a friend of hers was married to a partner from the agency, which kind of just gave me a bit of the universe is giving a nod that, yeah, it's starting to agree with the fact that this is the property for us. It was just interesting that it could have been through any number of agents. We found out at this point that there had been over 40 applicants for the property, and 4 were being put forward to be allowed to view in person, and we were going to be the first people to see it. All of the other people were going to see it in person, and we were seeing it remotely because that was all that was possible for us at that point in time. So we got super excited, and we had the viewing with my lovely friend and the agent, who's actually a really nice guy as well, and we had really liked it from what we'd seen online. And then when we saw it on the video tour, we were like, wow, this is absolutely even better than we could have imagined, and we really, really want it. And it was a really miserable day, and most people say if you love a property in the rain, then you'll absolutely love it any other time. So we were really keen and really excited, and when my friend left the house, she ran me back and we had a conversation, and she just said it's absolutely perfect for you. It's in a lovely area. We kind of knew the area a little bit. And we'd spoken to the agent, and he'd kind of said the next stage would be to meet the landlady, and obviously we'd explained again, if it was possible, could we do it via Zoom, because we wouldn't be able to be there in person, all the time crossing our fingers with the fact that you know, it's hard over Zoom if you've got up against people that can be there in person, and all the time being in trust. So I think it was over a week that when we heard that the next step, that we had got through to the next stage, and something really interesting happened. All of the other 3 people that viewed it in person were no longer in the running, and it was just us. And I was a bit gobsmacked when I heard that, and obviously absolutely delighted. So we met the landlady, which all went really well, and we had all our credit checks done, and I think it was last week that it was confirmed. Time is all blurring into one. It was all confirmed that we are renting the property, and we are moving in probably a little bit under 3 weeks. Oh my God! So what I wanted to share with you, and it feels so amazing to be able to say that it's official and it's happening, and we have started the sale process for our house here, so that is all now in train, which is amazing. There was every reason to believe that this property wasn't going to be ours, and in fact, even at one point we had been marked off the list as not being the right people, but because something inside me said, ring the agent. If I hadn't have rung him at that moment in time, there's every possibility that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to resubmit our application and get in front of the landlady, and we wouldn't have had this property. Now, I don't know if you're sat there thinking, yeah, well, that sort of thing never happens to me, or yeah, she's just lucky, or oh, well, yeah, amazing, of course they were always going to get it. I couldn't have envisioned that this would have happened in the way that it happened, but what I did envision every single day was me, my husband, and our animals living in that property. And in the work that I do, and some of you that have worked with me on a one-to-one basis will know that we do things where we travel into the future in our minds. And what you can do when you do that is the energy that you put out there changes things in the universe. There's nowhere near enough time in this vlog for me to kind of explain, even if I could, we're into the realms of quantum physics, which is, I understand enough of it to be able to help people utilize it, but it is, yeah, incredible work. If any of you want to know more about why these things happen, then quantum mechanics is the way to go and research that, quantum physics. And essentially, we wanted it enough, and we put the work in to visualize making it happen. And it makes me all like excited as I talk about it, because that is how powerful we are as beings. Now, there's a really important distinction here. What I didn't do was hold on to, oh my God, it's got to be this property. If it's not this property, then my world will end. That isn't what happened. I was focused on, this is the property that I think is perfect for us. And if we don't secure it, there will be another property that will be even better. And the reason that this property hasn't come to us is because it's for somebody else, and I'm fine with that too. A mentor of mine, Laura Husson, talks about that as holding it loosely, which means you can allow normal life to resume while still being focused on what it is that you want, which feels incredible. Now, one of the reasons, not the sole reason, but one of the reasons for moving is I want to be closer to more horsey action, specifically eventing and team stuff. And although it's amazing where we live in France, I wasn't competing when we came out here, and actually I never expected that I would, because my life in the UK before we moved over was just, competing wasn't on my radar. My career was just too bonkers and I didn't have the headspace. So although it is lovely here, you have to travel a long way to do the level of the competitions that I want to do, and we got to the stage where just traveling all of that way just wasn't feasible. So we made a decision. We felt like our time in France had come to an end. The other thing that I am also keen to do is to be able to offer some small number of coaching opportunities on a face-to-face basis, and I didn't want to be getting on a plane to do that, so that's another reason for moving. So Kiki and I are going to be out on the Midlands competition and training scene. I've actually joined my first riding club, age 45. Never had an opportunity or the headspace to join a riding club in the UK before, and the setup in France is very different. So the reason that I wanted to come on and share this with you today is really to say that even when something feels like it is an absolutely huge long shot, you can keep faith and take steps to actually make things happen in a really good way. And when you become powerful at doing this, and I'm a bit hooked now, so what am I going to manifest next? Because essentially that's what it's called. It's about manifesting what you want into your life. It becomes addictive in a really good way. So of course it's not without its pressures of moving from between country to country with Brexit. Thanks for all of you that voted for leave. And it's also not without its challenges, because we are still in a global pandemic. So we have to organise obviously COVID tests for ourselves. We have to organise lots for the horses, not COVID tests, but the health papers and health checks and things for the dogs and the cats as well. And it's all doable. So if I'm a little bit quieter on social media in the next couple of weeks, then you will know why. But I really wanted to come on and say, there is a version of me, I don't know, 2-3 years ago perhaps, that would not have been able to have the situation that's unfolded with this amazing property unfold as it has, because I wouldn't have had the belief and been totally committed but fully unattached to the outcome. And that's the most important thing. So if you would like some of this magic and you would like to know the how it can be possible for you too, because I'm not special, this is absolutely possible for every single one of you as well, then get in touch. You can find me online at beyourbestYet.co.uk. I'm on Instagram and Facebook on beyourbestYet as well. Have a great couple of weeks, everybody, and I will see you soon.